Hey, folks, we're back and we're talking about jailbreaks. And yes, it is a Thin Lizzy song, and we dearly miss those folks, but that's another story for another time. But Fred, there's a thing called Crescendo, and there's a lot of different novel efforts to kind of get LLMs to cough up information that they're not supposed to. And the latest one, I think, is called Echo something or other. But it seems like this is a cascading series of discoveries that people are coming up with. And some were saying that this is actually not a bug, but just a flat out structural flaw of an LLM. What do you think?
Yeah, so it's interesting that we've now parlayed what this is, called the echo chamber attack is what we're talking about here specifically, but it's kind of AI social engineering. So same problem we have today in humans, right? Now what we're doing is where, the Crescendo story that Microsoft put out explains a little bit how you can think about starting with relatively innocent questions and sort of evolving that to, a harmful prompt, right? And then next thing you know, you've got poisonous seeds sort of influencing the outcomes. And some of those types of outcomes really can't be seen as a bug, right? It's just, it's not a flaw in the reasoning process. It's a way to manipulate the reasoning because all the models that we love dearly, right, are inference models. So you can see things like, all of OpenAI's models, right, and even Gemini's, 2.5 models are subject to this. Plenty of others are also. So Neural Trust came out with a methodology here that's very interesting. It's interesting because of the level of sophistication required, but also it's interesting because of the number of models it actually affects. So the vast majority of models, right, are affected by this, at least 40%. And then some of the ones we use every day, all the OpenAI models, that's up to 90. But the concept here is harmful prompts. Let me ask you how to build a Molotov cocktail. Sorry, can't do that. Okay, well, let me tell you what I know, a Molotov cocktail to look like, and then let me seed that, and then let me get some of the ways to interpret my seed with other questions, and the next thing you know, I'm now invoking this context that's probably not right, and then we've got some paths to go down the wherewithal of which direction we're going to go with the model, and I get an answer, right, step by step, how to build a Molotov cocktail, and this is not. This is not sort of a challenge that I think anybody thought we would not come across. There's a lot of, governance guardrails being put in the market today. But the challenge that we have here is that the pervasiveness of something like this to happen and the influence of things. When we look at the OpenAI requirements for security, right, not listed in there is context protection and disambiguating, malicious from good. So there are some interesting new definitions we're probably going to have to come up with to understand how to appropriately regulate this kind of behavior and to understand when it happens.
So can I say it's not a bug, it's a feature?
What?
It's classic. I mean, but, we spoke earlier today about ethical LLMs, ethical AI players. Again, we could try to build in better guardrails that'll prevent you being able to take this AI. To me, it's akin to putting age verification on porn sites. Are we really keeping kids under 18 from entering these sites? I don't know if there's a good answer for this. Not with present technology. And that's, if you want to say, well, put the brakes on AI as a result, good luck with that. That's not happening. This is going to be one of these classical security things where we'll care about it when people bitch about it loud enough. But right now, it's the bitching isn't loud enough.
So are the guardrails that we're coming up with worth the damn in the first place? And I mean, why? Maybe it's not just worth the effort, and we should just let people know that this can happen, and bad people are going to do bad things.
I think there's a bunch of parts coming out to talk about this, right? Where whether it's Google Secure AI Framework, it's OWASP's new AI top 10 LLM concerns, Cloud Security Alliances. There's lots of people talking about what the potential implications are. But I think there's a really good point to be made here. That's great. However, the tools don't all exist to guardrail all of these things. And maybe we should quantify what the level of exploitation capability is first, and then work backwards. I think we're over pontificating about the implications without really understanding the consequences.
I also think it may differ by use case. I mean, imagine you're a financial services firm, and then people are teasing out information about your clients. Well, that's a bigger issue than maybe, some retailer somewhere. So, will this maybe reduce the appetite for using LLMs in certain use cases where there is a lot of sensitivity around the data? So it's theoretically possible.
Well, I think there's a conversation we had about, so if that's your risk, right? And Nicara put out this thing this week that talks about the AI model risk index. You'll notice we've talked about Anthropic's Claude 4.0 and where they sit on the security index a while back, but the risk index. If you're a large financial, right, or you are using something specifically to guard, I don't know, the Coke formula, right, then maybe the risk here for you is that is fundamentally too dangerous for us. We're going to implement our own model that's customized, very specific, has guardrails around it, and doesn't require you to use the foundation models and, a public cloud infrastructure or something like this. There's ways around it. I think quantifying what that actual risk is to you, this is a good indice for folks to look at is, if this is possible and that information is critical to me, then I've got to make different risk decisions, maybe about which model I use, which service I use, and how I weaponize that engine for my users' benefit.
Fair enough.
So I would think that, in a couple of months from now, though, when folks who experience that risk aren't paying attention right now are going to wake up one morning and there's going to be some sort of shocking piece of news that, will surprise them and will be for us. We'll be like, hey, we told you so. But I guess I'm wondering how long that might take, because I think the bad guys are getting really good at social engineering of LLMs. So I think, this may be popping up on, I don't know, the front page of the proverbial Wall Street Journal, as they used to say, 30 days from now. John, what's your bet?
Yes. When I heard social engineering and I heard AI, I was like, here it's real and it's happening and we're going to read about it pretty soon. And that's always like the recurring theme among these companies in their rush. They know it's happening. They know that what the risk is involved and they're willing to take it. So yes, Mike, it's a matter of time.
All right. I think that's going to, which sounds like we're a little out of steam here, but that probably means it's time to end the show, which is a good thing. I've got a busy day in front of me at PlatformCon, and as I said, it should all be available on any of the TechStrong TV outlets, YouTube, OTT, etc. Also, we've got a full TechStrong TV lineup immediately following today's gang show. But until then, Mike, safe travels home to New York. John, Fred, great to see you both. We'll see you soon on another episode. For now, on behalf of TechStrong Gang, this is Alan Schimmel. We're out.